Hi everyone. So today we're going to look at a very interesting trap against the Sicilian defense. This is something not everybody would know about and would help you to win your games very quickly. So let's have a look. So if you play one e4, you will often face the Sicilian defense, which is very tactical. And after knight f3, d6 is the knight off, which is one of the major Sicilian defenses. And here, the most ambitious move is of course d4, but it also involves a lot of theory, and you have to remember insane number of lines, and this is not everybody's cup of tea. And even if you can, it's always fun to set up a trap for your opponent, and you just play c3. So basically, you just want to place your pawn in the center and control the center with your two pawns, and this cannot be a bad strategy at all. And here black would play knight f6, and here you would set your trap with bishop e2. Now this looks like it's dropping a pawn, but here black plays knight c6. So if he were to capture the pawn, let's say when knight takes e4, then queen a4 check, and black is going to lose the knight for free. So this is not really possible. But of course the trap goes deeper than that. And here after knight c6, so basically black has closed this diagonal and now he's preparing to capture on e4. You just play d4, and now black has two options. He can either play, let's say, knight takes e4 immediately, but then you play d5, and when the knight moves, let's say, to e5, you again play queen a4, and it's again same thing, and you basically win the knight for free. You can of course capture on e5, and when black captures back, then you can play queen a4. It is the same thing. So the only difference here is black can of course first capture on d4, and then c takes d4, and now he captures on e4. So you might say this looks pretty much the same. After the pawn moves to d5, black has to move the knight, and then I give the check and win the knight, right? Well, not so easy. Actually, black has the move queen a5 check. So because he had forced us to capture with c takes d4, so if you look back, if he had directly played knight takes e4, we play d5, and there's a pawn on c3, so there is no queen a5 check. And here after c takes d4, now suddenly queen a5 check is an option. After knight takes e4, d5, this queen a5 check, which covers the a4 square, and now white knows about this and he plays the move knight c3, and this looks completely absurd because not only can black move his knight, but now white has placed his knight under a pin, and this gives black the freedom to take on c3, the knight we were trying to capture. But now white has changed his strategy. He's not going for the free piece, he's going for the checkmate. So after knight takes c3, you just take back with b takes c3, and now the knight is hanging. So black has to move the knight. If queen takes c3, then bishop d2, and when the queen moves, we can capture the knight for free. So knight d8 and knight e5 are two options. So let's have a look at knight e5 first. Here we just take, and now black can take queen takes c3 check, bishop d2, queen takes e5, and white just castles. And after queen takes d5, you count the number of pawns. White has 1, 2, 3, 4 pawns. Black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this looks absurd that white has sacrificed 3 of his pawns. And it doesn't look like there's much wrong with black's position, but actually there is. White has a huge lead in development. You can look at this bishop. Black is at least 3 moves from castling. Let's say g6, bishop g7 and castle, or e6, bishop e7 and castle. And obviously black isn't going to castle on the queen side with the open c file, so this is pretty decent compensation for white. And here after rook b1, uh, white is already very strong. He's threatening rook b5 sometimes. He's threatening bishop f3. So black plays bishop d7, and maybe on a good day he would like to play bishop c6, and that would actually solidify his position a little bit. So white plays bishop f3 first, queen takes a2, and black has won another pawn, but this time white wins it back. And now rook c8. So black is also preparing the move queen c2 to exchange queen sometimes, and now bishop e3. So white has these two strong bishops looking at the queen side, and the only difference is that black's king is in the center. So even though he has three extra pawns, he's technically playing without both these pieces. So basically white is playing a rook and a bishop up in this position right now. So black tries to save his pawn, which is not really the priority right now for black. And now bishop d5. You can see the bishop is pointing towards black's weakest point. And now queen c2, queen a1, even preventing g6 now. And now queen a4, black tries to exchange queens, which would be very good for him, of course. But queen b1, e6, and now bishop b3 gaining a tempo, queen g4 and rook c1. And now white tries to exchange the only active black piece that is defending the king. Of course the bishop is there as well, but if the rook is removed, then suddenly the back rank will decide the game. And black plays rook takes c1, queen takes c1, bishop e7, and he's just one move away from castling now. If black had the move, of course he cannot castle right now because d7 is hanging, but even that, let's say black had the move to castle, rook takes d7, uh, like even that would be better than what is going to happen in the game. Now h3, queen e4, and rook b8. So bishop d8 is now played, and now black is actually ready to castle. He just needs one more move, but it will not be given to him. Bishop b6. So if now he castles, he loses the piece for free, and he's going to lose this pawn as well later on. So he plays the blunder king e7. He should have probably just castled and sacrificed the piece, but after king e7, queen g5 is actually winning the game in one move, because if the king moves back, then rook d8 is checkmate, and the only other move is f6, but then queen g7, and after king e8, rook d8 is checkmate. So this was a very nice game when black plays knight e5, and black also has the option of knight d8. Now this has its pros and cons. The good side being that it defends the pawn on b7, it defends the pawn on f7, and it also lends some support to the black king. But the negative side is that it leaves white with an additional attacking option, and which white will definitely use in the game. So now castles, e5. So black plays e5 to kind of start the process of castling, and d6, knight e6. So black has used this knight effectively to bring his uh, king into safety, and after knight d4, white is again tempting black to take and open up the e file for his rook. So bishop e7 and bishop b5. So again, black was just one move away from castling. If here white just plays a casual move like h3, black castles, and here definitely black is just better. He has castled. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this position. So bishop b5 is critical. Now black plays king f8, which is actually a good move. If bishop d7, then just takes and queen f3, and white is taking queen takes b7, queen takes f7, and this is disastrous for black. So king f8, and now simply rook b1. So black has just displaced his king on f8, and white is trying to bring all his pieces into play, because black is now going to play without his rook on h8 technically. So white has to involve as many pieces as he can. So now a6, bishop c4, queen c7, and just white exchanges all the pieces. Bishop d5 was even better here, trying to maintain the tension, but bishop e6 is also a good practical try, because if bishop takes e6, white just captures, pawn takes, queen f3 check, and next white is going to play rook takes b7. So now that's why black has to take with the pawn, but that does open up his king even more, and this rook is still completely out of play. So rook e1, you see white has placed both his rooks on the half open file. e5, queen f3 check, bishop f6, and bishop a3. So white sacrifices a piece on d4, and ed4, queen d5. There's a threat of bishop d6, which would take the black queen. So bishop e7. And now I'm going to ask you to pause the video and think for a while, what did white play here? So white plays the sacrifice rook takes e7. He's not really afraid of anything now. He's all in. Now queen takes e7 would lead to bishop d6, which will lose the queen. So he has to bring his king into the center. Now if you look at the position, black has an extra rook. If he could magically play rook e8 and king f8, this would be not rook e8, actually rook d8 would be a better choice to protect the d6 pawn. So let's imagine black plays rook d8, king f8, and white can pretty much resign in this game because black has solidified and now he's just a rook up. However, it's white to move and black's pieces are completely out of play. So technically right now black is three pieces who are not in play. This bishop is still kind of supporting in a little bit. So even if you consider two rooks, black is playing with his queen, bishop, and king, and white is playing with his bishop, rook, and queen. So basically, white is playing a whole rook up right now, and it's very difficult for black's king to handle. And here, white plays rook e1 check, king f6, bishop d6, queen d7, rook e5, and he's bringing his rook into play now. And here black plays rook e8. He tries to bring his rook into play, and which is a logical decision. I'm guessing black was very low on time, but the only move here to hold on was h6, which is very hard to imagine anybody playing unless they have a lot of time. They can calculate all the complications. Uh, this kind of gives black some sort of hope, but rook e8 feels like a natural move because you're trying to exchange one of white's attacking pieces, but it's white to move and black will never really never really get a chance to exchange this piece, and he will never come around to saving this game. So queen f3 check, king g6, queen h5 check, king f6, queen f3, white repeats for a while, and now he just captures the rook on e8. Of course black can take the bishop, but after cd4 you can see this bishop cannot still move because the rook would be hanging, and it's now just black's king against the might of the white queen and rook. H6, h4, white removes any back rank issues and also includes another pawn into the attack. And after a5, black maybe on a good day would try to play something like this, but that is also far-fetched. After queen f3 check, king g6, h5 check, including the pawn into the attack, king g5. King h7 is not really an option because of queen e4 check, and this is resignable. So king g5, rook e5 check, and as you can see, black's king is getting into a mating net, and black has to capture the rook and takes, and bishop e6, queen b7, rook g8, the pawn on g7 was attacked, and now queen e7 check. So white has attacked both pieces. So king f5 is the only move. And now there's a simple way to just win the bishop after g4 check, king e5, f4 check. Black has to capture, and then white just wins the bishop as well. And this is completely lost for black with the queen. The queen will mop up this pawn, and then white will win with his superior material advantage. So this is a very interesting trap that white can set in the opening. Uh, this is also not so well-known theory, so your opponents might be completely surprised with this. And it feels like white is just sacrificing one by one all the pawns, but this is a very interesting gambit. And of course, there are many ways for black to simply go wrong. He can either capture and simply lose the piece. He can also, after knight c6, capture directly and again lose the piece. So there are many ways for black to go wrong, and it's a good way to test your opponents over the board. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and do check out other content on the channel, and take care.